takes a certain kind of person to tempt death for applause, to lock themselves in chains, step into a coffin, or sink beneath the surface with only faith and lung capacity to bargain with. They chase the impossible, believing skill can outpace mortality. But sometimes, death isn't impressed. Sometimes it waits quietly in the wings. Tonight, we're examining 6 escape artists whose final acts ended not with cheers, but silence. This is Signal Noir Studios, and these are the worst escape artist deaths ever. Joseph Burris, buried alive in cement, 1990. Joseph Amazing Joe Burris wasn't a household name, but he wanted to be. His dream was to surpass Houdini himself, the man who famously escaped coffins, tanks, shackles, everything. Houdini once planned to be buried alive, but canceled the stunt after training nearly killed him. Joe didn't cancel. He charged forward anyway. It was Halloween night, Fresno, California. Hundreds watched as Burris was handcuffed, shut in a plexiglass coffin, lowered into a 7-foot pit. Then, the real game. 3 tons of dirt and cement poured over him. The crowd assumed tension was part of the show. The mix began to settle, thicken, compress, and then, crack! The coffin shattered under the weight. The cement collapsed inward like wet stone, crushing Joe instantly. Rescuers dug for 30 minutes before reaching him, but there was no miracle escape. He was found curled inward, hands still bound, lungs full of cement dust. He wanted to beat Houdini. Instead, he proved why Houdini never tried it. The Great Lafayette. Sigmund Neuberger, better known as the Great Lafayette, was the highest paid magician in the world in 1911. He performed for kings, sold out theaters, and traveled with luxury, ego, and a dog he treated like royalty. He even demanded that hotel staff cook steaks for his dog daily, served on silver plates. But the thing Lafayette valued most wasn't money. It was control. No one touched his props. No one adjusted his sets. No one broke his rules. That control would become the very thing that killed him. The Night of the Fire, Empire Palace Theatre, Edinburgh. The show was grand. Illusions, tigers, elaborate scenery. The climax was The Lion's Bride, a dramatic routine involving a caged lion and Lafayette performing a daring escape. Everything was running perfectly, until the lion knocked over a lantern. The scenery caught fire, fast. Thick curtains ignited, ropes above the stage snapped and fell into flames. The audience believed it was all part of the act. They applauded. Meanwhile, Lafayette, still in costume, tried to escape backstage, but his obsession with secrecy was his doom. He had locked and secured all exits to prevent backstage spying and prop theft. Fire crews couldn't get to him. Performers ran blindly into flames. Some found doors bolted shut from the inside. By the time firefighters broke through, Lafayette lay dead beside his lion, both bodies charred beyond recognition. Here's the strangest detail. During recovery, a body was removed and buried as Lafayette, only for rescuers to find another nearly identical corpse later. One was his double. The second was the real Lafayette. The man who built illusions died inside his most tragic one, burned alive by his own obsession with secrecy. Charles Rowan, Carr the Magician. Charles Rowan was not the most famous escape artist of his time, but he was the most fearless. He believed timing, precision, and nerve could conquer any risk, even one involving a speeding vehicle. His signature stunt was simple to describe, but horrifying in execution. Escaped from a straitjacket while a car accelerated toward him at full speed. The stunt was advertised as unbeatable. He would be tied, restrained, arms pinned to his chest, and a car would race toward him at 50 miles per hour. He had only 10 seconds to break free. On February 2nd, 1930, the performance began. Rowan nodded to the driver. The engine revved, the timer started. He twisted, strained, fought the canvas with violent jerks. Spectators watched with nervous excitement, not knowing they were about to witness the unthinkable. At 8 seconds, he was still bound. At 9, panic spread across his face. At 10, he screamed, "Stop!" But physics was already in motion. The driver braked, tires screaming, but momentum carried the car forward. It struck Rowan in front of a full audience. hurling his body across the ground. His leg was severed. He suffered massive internal trauma. Witnesses reported he was conscious, just long enough to say, "It was my fault, I miscalculated." He died shortly afterward. The crowd came to see a miracle. They left having watched death, not be cheated, but earned in seconds. The great Blanchard William, Blanchard the Great, built his career as the heir to Houdini's underwater escapes. Handcuffed, chained, sealed inside a water-filled tank, then triumphantly breaking free at the edge of blackout. He made the impossible look effortless. But illusions only work if every moving part cooperates. On one tragic night, one tiny part didn't. The tank escape, a routine that wasn't. Blanchard had performed the water can escape countless times. Spectators loved the rising tension, the stillness of the water, the slow bubbling as he worked beneath the surface, the assistants circling the tank, nervous but confident. That night was no different. He was shackled, lowered in, lid locked. The audience leaned forward, waiting for the usual climax, the explosion of applause as he burst free from the tank. Only this time, he didn't. Minutes passed. Air bubbles slowed. The audience believed it was part of the performance, that Blanchard was milking suspense. Then someone backstage noticed something terrifying. The release key, the one Blanchard used every show, had fallen to the bottom of the tank. Assistants hesitated, thinking the escape was still underway. They waited too long. By the time they shattered the tank with sledgehammers, water flooded across the stage, and Blanchard floated face down, motionless. He drowned in front of a crowd that thought it was theater. There's a thin line between brilliance and fatal commitment. Blanchard crossed it underwater. The Rao brothers. The Rao brothers were one of India's most daring escape teams. Not one performer, but three, chained together and thrown into the unknown as a single synchronized act. Their signature stunt was breathtaking. Three men, bound at the wrists and ankles, padlocked to one another, lowered into a river. Escape or drown. Crowds loved it. Reporters covered it, and the brothers believed nothing could stop them, until the Ganges proved otherwise. The Ganges River Escape, 1976. It was meant to be their greatest stunt yet. Thousands gathered along the riverbank, watching as drums pounded, smoke rose, and the three brothers stood calmly in chains. They bowed, smiling, then were lowered into the water. The river swallowed them whole. Seconds passed, then a minute. The surface rippled, but no heads emerged. At first, the crowd cheered, assuming suspense was part of the show. But beneath the surface, in black water with a strong current, the brothers were fighting for air and losing. Chains snagged against each other. Visibility was zero. The current dragged them deeper and downstream. Attempts to resurface one at a time failed. Each man's restraints were linked to the others. Their greatest act, unity, became their doom. Rescuers searched for hours. Bodies were recovered later downstream, still padlocked together. Three escape artists, three illusions. One river that never gave them back alive. Janaka Basnayaka. Not every escape artist performs on a stage. Some chase greatness in silence, far from applause, far from paramedics, where the only witness is the earth itself. Janaka Basnayaka was one of them. A Sri Lankan endurance performer, he believed his body and will were capable of surviving what most men could not. He had already attempted 2 live burial stunts and survived both. So when he planned a third, he expected victory to be routine. But death doesn't accept routines. The burial attempt, 2012. Basnayaka arrived with confidence. He told friends and military helpers to bury him alive and return hours later so he could emerge as proof of human endurance. No locks, no props, just dirt, darkness, and time. He was placed in a pit over 10 feet deep, fitted with minimal oxygen flow. Then the soil came, layer after layer. Light vanished, air thinned, and the clock began. Hours passed, far too many. 7 hours after burial, his family unearthed the pit to bring him out. They found him unresponsive, cold, silent, unmoving. Paramedics rushed, lungs pumped, pulse searched. But Janaka's heart had already surrendered. killed by hypoxia, pressure, and the weight of ambition. His goal was to prove the human spirit indestructible. Instead, he proved how quickly life collapses when separated from air, movement, and light. He wanted to master death. He became a student of it instead. Escapology is built on tension, the illusion that death is closing in, but that skill, timing, and courage can slip free at the last second. These 6 performers believed they could outsmart danger. Some had done it before, some came closer than anyone ever should. But in the end, chains, coffins, fire, water, and earth reminded them of a truth old as breath itself. There is no greater escape act than surviving. This is Signal Noir Studios, where the next story waits in the dark.